follow on me. We're marching out into the night. Follow on me. We're standing up against a giant. Follow on me. We might be walking in the fire, but if it's where we're meant to be, then on me.
We want to welcome you back. For those of you who've been faithful and on here for the On Me 20, it is 20 days with 20 guests who will give us 20 challenges and to help us to adapt and overcome in the midst of coronavirus or anything else that we're facing in life. Adapting and overcoming is not ever anything that's a skill that you use once and then you're good to go. That will be something that you will continually use over and over in your life. And for those of you in the military, you have used that over and over in your life. So we're excited to have Eli Crane with us today. Typically we start at 15:13, and that's in reference to John 15:13 that says, greater love has no one than this, than to lay down their life for their friends. And that's what my son Mark did on August 2nd, 2006. And we're so proud of him and the choice he made to give his life, not only for his teammates, for the freedoms that we enjoy each and every day. And as I said before, I had no choice, the news that was given to me on August 2nd. But I did have a choice how I responded. And my choice was to put on his boots, pick up his weapon, and stay in the fight for every man and woman who serves, stay in the fight for every other family who's lost a loved one. And it's my honor to be able to do that for those of you who would willingly give your life for me and for my freedoms. And I never take that for granted. So for those of you who served, Eli, for you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're excited to have you here today. I'm going to read a little bit of your bio. A lot of people probably know who you are, but there may be some things they don't know about you. Eli Crane is a man of faith, a husband, a father, a veteran, and an entrepreneur. Eli joined the Navy the week after 9/11. He spent 9 years as a Navy SEAL. After 5 deployments in the Navy, 3 of them to Iraq, he decided to turn the page. You might have seen him and his wife, Jen, on AB's hit show Shark Tank, where they successfully landed a deal with Mark Cuban and Kevin O'Leary. Eli is also a brand ambassador for Sig Sauer Firearms and a member of the ACVBA, Advisory Committee of Veteran Business Affairs in Washington, D.C. Thank you. Welcome, Eli, for being here today. It's always fun to be able to talk with you and catch up with you. Eli's another one of my boys, so we're excited to have him here today. Thank you, Eli. So tell us a little bit about growing up, about your family. You married? Do you have kids?
Okay, yeah, thanks, Mama Leah, for having me. So I am married. I've been married now. This is our 15th year, so we're pretty excited about that. We have 2 little girls, a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they're just awesome. They challenge me every day, and we're trying to, thankfully the older one's kind of homeschooling herself, so we don't have to really deal with that too much. But her younger sister, the 8-year-old, we're having to homeschool her a little bit. And when I say we, I primarily mean Jen. Every day Jen reserves like one really easy task for me to do with her. Yesterday I had to watch a video, which I didn't really watch. And then we had to write like a paragraph about what she watched and then color a picture. So Jen's pretty kind, and she also understands, my skill sets and realizes that, second, 3rd grade literature and math are a little too difficult for me. So he lets me come and make bottle openers and, that type of stuff. So,
but that's the benefit in a team. You've got your weaknesses are her strengths, her weaknesses, hopefully are your strengths, and that it comes together. And that's why teamwork's so important. So what a great example there for that.
No, 100%. And, God surely has a sense of humor, and, living with 3 girls has really, it's really been good for me, and, really helped me to think round some of my edges a little bit and develop some patience. So that's good.
Awesome. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Yuma, Arizona. So I was born in Tucson, but raised in Yuma. And, that actually ended up being a benefit in many ways. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And for those of you that have been to Yuma or drove through Yuma, you might understand what I'm talking about. And Yuma's one of the hottest places in the country. It's between San Diego and Tucson, where I am now. It's really close to the Mexican border. And like I said, it's really hot. And when I went to Iraq 3 different times, I remember all my buddies complaining about how hot it was there. And I was like, man, this is just like Yuma, only there's Arabic street signs, and some more explosions. But it was cool because no matter where I went after that, everything else was gravy. Everything else was great. And so, I think that's one of the benefits to geographical adversity is that everywhere else after that is just gravy,
Yeah. And it's crazy, having been in Iraq, how similar Yuma looks to the places. We're on that same latitude.
Yeah.
Right? Latitude, not longitude. So it's crazy when I flew over there, the similarities that I saw there. But man, it is hot there. I remember doing when we were doing one of the cross country tours, and we stopped there, and the team that scheduled it had never been to Yuma, and they scheduled it in August outside at noon.
Yikes.
And literally, I had a skirt on that day, and the sweat was just dripping down. I'm like, never again. Can I see the schedule where we're going, where we're stopping if it's in Arizona? Because it was so stinking hot. And people were standing from the shade of the bus, but I couldn't get in it. So I was out in the direct sun. So you were right. One of the hottest places that you can be, in
Yep.
the United States. But yeah. And so 9/11, you decided after you saw what happened that you were going to go in the Navy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to join the military. And as I got, into my college years, I started to zero my focus in on the SEAL teams just because of the literature that I was reading. It seemed really cool. They seemed to be able to pretty much do everything that everybody else could, only they specialized in, being around and working in the water. And I always liked the water. I thought that was really cool. Plus, another thing that really attracted me to it was the research that I was reading. A lot of it said that it was quite possibly the hardest training in the Department of Defense. And, I really wanted to challenge myself in that way. And I found out the hard way that it was as hard as everybody said it was, all those books. And so I didn't make it on my first try, but I did join the Navy the week after 9/11. I dropped out of the University of Arizona here in Tucson, where I live now. I was starting my senior year, and, I remember feeling the same feelings that probably everybody else did, maybe a little bit more anger and maybe a little bit more of a desire to, set things right. And, I've always believed that there's good and evil in this world. My parents raised me that way. And so I know that when that is the case, oftentimes, warriors need to rise up and go take care of business. And I felt there would never be a better time, for me. So in many ways, I was honored to get the opportunity, to go serve my country during a time of war, and more importantly, to fight for others that, can't fight for themselves.
And thank you for doing that. I was one of those that wasn't over there fighting, and it means so much to me to know there are men like you, Eli, that would go, stand over there, do the combat, fight, train, so that we can be free here at home, as they say, so we can sleep in our beds at night. So thank you for doing that. So after you didn't make it through the first time, did you roll right back into the following class, or did you get out and do some sea time, or?
I wish I got the opportunity. I had some friends that got rolled back, and, at the time I was a little frustrated because I had actually made it through Hell Week with Bud's class 242. And, when I went to an academic review board, they basically said, young man, you're obviously tough. You've made it through the hardest part of our training, but we need the best of the best here. And you have failed, this run, this swim, this obstacle course. You're rated in the bottom, you're rated in the low 25% of your class. We need the best of the best. You're just not measuring up to it. So we're going to send you packing, and we recommend that you come back in a year. And so, that's a tough pill for anybody to swallow, especially if you have any idea what it takes to even get to where I was. I mean, Hell Week they load it up front, but it's one of the most brutal things you'll ever experience in your life. And because I didn't show up prepared and mature, I had to do it twice. And instead of coming back in a year, my ship, the commanding officer on my ship, would not let me go. So I had to stay on the ship for 2.5 years, but as I look back on it, I feel grateful and blessed that it wasn't an easy ride. And I feel blessed to have walked through the adversity, and I see correlations from, that type of stuff, to the company that we built here at Bottle Breacher and all the adversity that it took to build this company. And I see correlations to what we're going through now with, this quarantine, this lockdown, the COVID-19. And I like to talk about one of my favorite scripture verses. It's James 1:2, and it says, consider it pure joy when you walk through trials of many kinds, for it's the testing of your faith that breeds perseverance. Let perseverance continue so that you may become mature, complete, and lacking in nothing. As you break that verse down, at the end of the verse is mature, complete, and lacking in nothing. That's what I wanted when I wanted to become a SEAL, right? That's what most young men want when they show up to that program. That's what most of us want as adults. We want to be mature, complete, and lacking in nothing. But the problem is most of us don't want to walk through the trials of many kinds. And I found that the trials of many kinds, the adversity is often where we grow. The problem is most of us avoid those opportunities to grow. And when we get the opportunity to walk through adversity, instead of thinking to ourselves, wow, here's an opportunity for me to actually grow, mature a little bit, hold my head high and walk through this with some grace, most of us cower and we try and avoid it, or, we put on the victim hat, whatever it is. And so that's been one of the cool things about this time for me. Even though my business has been shut down for close to 30 days now, none of my employees are allowed to come to work. I'm still paying them. It's not good for my business financially at all, but I'm not choosing to look at the wind and the waves or the things that I can't control. I'm looking at the things that I can control, and I'm looking at this situation as an opportunity to grow.
Wow, that's so good. So good. And I think, we've talked about those circumstances numerous times, how those things that you go through in life are the proving grounds. Those are the testing grounds. And if we persevere through each one of those trials, it is a learning experience that develops that character in us. So then when we get to the next one, you think about all the training and what you went through in buds to prepare you over and over and over and over. So intense. You get to Hell Week and you've got 20 minutes of sleep, or what'd you get, 4 hours for the whole week, 20 minutes here and there?
Yeah.
That's intense. And so if you're going to have the tip of the spear, the best of the best, that training's got to be intense to make sure that you got what it takes. And I think that's what God allows in the circumstances of our life as he brings us through the different trials, tragedies, adversity that we come through, to see he believes in us, that we've got the strength to do that, or he wouldn't put us in those circumstances. Oftentimes we don't think we can. We don't have the confidence in ourselves, but if we trust him, then he gets us through those circumstances and prepares us so that we can be stronger for the next one and endure that one. With all the different things that I went through in my life, losing Mark by far is the toughest thing I've ever been through. But I'd been through a lot of tragedies and trials before that. If it had to been for those tragedies and trials, I probably wouldn't have been able to stand through losing Mark. I probably would have said, time out, I'm done. This is just too much. But because I knew God's character, I knew who he was, I had confidence that he would get me through. And so I think you're spot on with those comments. So then you went back and—
Well, hold on real quick, Debbie. Sure. I want to say something. And honestly, for those of you guys watching that don't know, that's why so many people in the SEAL community look up to Mama Lee, because of the adversity that you've walked through, but not just the adversity, because there's a lot of gold star parents, there's a lot of gold star wives, a lot of gold star moms. But Debbie, the way the way you've handled yourself and the way that you've weaponized your wounds, you know, it just spark, you know, it's so amazing to all of us when we see a mom who is willing to go over to Iraq where her son was killed to uplift and encourage those of us that are there or the next generation that are going. And so you definitely know what I'm talking about, and you definitely have exemplified that. And that's why your legacy in this community is what it is today.
Thank you. Thank you, Eli. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you guys. You guys are my family and I love you. And, you know, God has given me that strength. It was funny, my devotion I was reading this week, I'm reading The Message, which is not a translation, it's a paraphrase. So someone else who was a biblical scholar read it and in more current terminology wrote it. But he talked about glory strength. And, you know, I always tell people, they're like, you're a strong woman. I'm like, no, I've got a strong God. I'm a weak woman with a strong God.
Right.
And so that's my new term now, is glory strength. That's where that strength comes from. But thank you so much for those kind words. So you then went back and obviously became a Navy SEAL. And then you were on SEAL 3, which was the same team, my favorite team. No disregard to the others, but that just happens to be my favorite one since Mark served there. And you did 5 deployments, is that correct?
I did 3 at SEAL Team 3. When I was on the ship, after I failed, I did 2 deployments on that ship, and so I did 3 at SEAL Team 3, and then I enlisted on my last deployment in 2010 in Fallujah, Iraq. Matter of fact, my first deployment in Iraq was in 2006, and I was in Habaniya, about 30 miles from where Mark was killed. So we had operated that night about 30 miles from where Mark was operating. We came back, we got the news. Nobody went to sleep. We gassed up the trucks and we drove down MSR, Michigan, which was a very dangerous road to get to Ramadi so that we could be there for Mark's memorial service. And unfortunately, I never got to meet Mark. From what I hear about him, that's a shame, because when I read, his letter, and when I get snapshots of who he was as a man, I think, the scriptures say is iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. That's the type of guy that I want to sharpen myself on. And I also heard that he carried the Mark 48 without a sling, which is something. I carried that gun for 4 years, and there was no way I was carrying that thing without a sling. And my back and my knees have never been the same. And, and then after that deployment in 2008, I worked for Chris Kyle for 2 years. And we went all over Iraq. And if you watch the movie American Sniper, which obviously Mark is in, or an actor playing Mark is in, I worked for Chris during his 4th and final deployment, so that was another interesting experience, full of a lot of adversity, but it made me stronger. And, it's just an awesome opportunity.
Yeah. What do you think the most difficult thing was that you went through on your deployments? If you could pick one, what would you say that would be?
Oh, I don't know. I think, I think one of the hardest things was, wanting to get more into the fight and not being able to. That was always a really tough thing. A lot of Navy SEAL teams are kind of jurisdictional when they're overseas. You don't really understand that until you get there, and you're not just competing against other Navy SEAL platoons or units that are in country at the time. You're competing against Army Rangers, Delta, Marines, and everybody's fighting for the same missions. And so that can be really, really hard to work your tail off, for 18 months on a workup cycle, and then go overseas, sleep during the day, and then, be ready to go to work at night. And you find out that, hey, some Army Rangers just snaked a target from us in our own backyard. They flew in on helos and we had no idea about it. I mean, that's one of the hardest things always, because you don't get into that job wanting to sit back at base and twiddle your thumbs and play, PlayStation or Xbox. You want to get out there and you want to take the fight to the enemy. And, sometimes that can be really difficult.
So how did you adapt and overcome in those circumstances? You're all trained, ready to go, wanting to do it. And, that had to be, like you said, frustrating, discouraging.
Yeah, it is. But I think it goes back to that whole attitude, just like we're here in, now with this quarantine, you control what you can control, and one thing you can always control is your attitude. And you can be in the best situation in the world and have the worst attitude. Like I know some kids and I know some people out there that by worldly standards have no reason to have a good attitude, just because many would look at them and say, wow, this kid doesn't have enough to rub two nickels together, struggling to, make ends meet just to get a meal for the day. Yet this kid's running around with a smile on his face, and just joy. And that's, for me, that's something, it's a daily struggle, I think, for a lot of us, but that's not a fight I want to lose, regardless of my circumstances or situation. I want to be a light to other people. I want to be a brother to other people. And it's tough to encourage and uplift other people if you're always down in the dumps. And that was not the teammate I wanted to be. And I don't think that most of the guys that ever worked with me on a very close basis would say that that's what I was like. I think, I was the type of guy that really tried to bring unity and just love and cohesion and brotherhood to the group, despite, all my weaknesses and, all of that, and so, no matter where I was, I just wanted to do the best job I could and, be there and be able to be counted on.
Yeah. So then Bottle Breacher, where did that come into the picture? How did that all start?
Yeah. So when I started in the Navy, I never wanted to make it a career. I really just wanted to serve my country and go do something else. And, after seeing what I did in the teams, and the biggest catalyst for me to get out was, by watching my oldest daughter grow up in pictures. I couldn't stand the fact that my daughters were really growing up without a dad, because while you're active in the teams, you're gone about 250, 260 days out of the year. And some of the time you're in a combat zone, putting it on the line every single day practically. And so I didn't want my girls to grow up without a father. And so I decided that I'm going to get out, and and I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. I've never really been, the type of guy that, follows the flock. I've always tried to do things, march to the beat of my own drum, if you will. And entrepreneurship, I caught the bug when some other SEALs asked me to be a member or a partner in a startup that they were working on. And so, I started this company with them, and I loved the freedom. I also loved the potential upside. I've always been a dreamer, and I want to swing for the fences. And I don't think there's anything that you can do in the professional side of things that really matches the potential upside, the challenge, and the freedom as starting your own company. And so, my wife wasn't too thrilled about it, but, I asked her, I was like, hey babe, do you think you can help me sell these cool, bottle openers online? And she was willing to help me. And she's like, hey, we should put them on Etsy. And I'd never even heard of Etsy. And so I was like, well, why not eBay or something I've heard of? And she was like, no, listen, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And thankfully she had a lot of success in, online stores and businesses that she had started herself. So, I took a really cool product that I started working on, and I was definitely praying about it, because I knew I wanted to get out of the service, and I was asking, God for guidance, wisdom, and direction so that I could take care of my family and support them. And I found that sometimes God, uses plans that seem ludicrous and crazy to other people. And I think that he does that sometimes, you know, because he's the only explanation for how this thing worked out,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, it's clearly not because I'm so savvy or such a great business mind, but, you know, God put his hand on us, and, you know, he's blessed us, you know, big time, you know, as we got out. And I'm not saying there hasn't been a lot of adversity along the way, because there has. And I know that a lot of vets struggle when they make that transition. And I know I was too, you know, but I feel grateful and blessed to have the opportunity to sink my teeth into something once again that it wasn't easy. It was very difficult. The failure rates for entrepreneurs are through the roof. I mean, it's like a 90% failure rate. And, you know, it's just been so cool to be challenged and to create something. And it also it also really broadens your horizon and your mindset for how the world works and how, you know, things work. It gives you a lot more appreciation for men and women that go open a bakery or a restaurant, and just how hard they work, you know. And, you know, I'm just grateful to have gotten to do it.
So for those people who aren't familiar with your company or what a bottle breacher is, can you explain to them a little bit what the bottle breacher is?
Yeah, I probably should have done that, huh? but yeah, it's we started with a 50 caliber dummy round, and we turned it into a bottle opener, and then we went on the show, the Shark Tank, and it was funny. I was actually still in the Navy, and I was on terminal leave when I was at Sony Picture Studios with my wife pitching to the Shark Tank. And I didn't tell the Navy, because the Navy, in cases like that, they suck. And they would have told me, hey, no, you're not allowed to do this. And I knew that was probably the only opportunity that I'd ever get to do it. And so even though I was on terminal leave, like I was basically, I wasn't going to work anymore. I was at Sony Picture Studios pitching to Mark Cuban, Kevin O'Leary, and the rest of them. And it was cool because they actually saw value in what we were doing. We had pretty decent sales, and we had a really cool story. And, you know, I think they sniffed out the fact that Jen and I were both hard workers. And so, you know, they took a chance on us, and it went really well. And there's been a lot of hardships along the way, but we've developed a lot of really cool products that center around, like, you know, bottle openers, you know, wine openers, you know, and just coasters, stuff like that. And a lot of them are personalized because we have a bunch of laser engravers, so we can do logos and, you know, all sorts of cool stuff. So it's been really fun, but honestly, it's, you know, I talk about legacy a lot. And, you know, I think one of the things that we all need to ask ourselves, and we don't do it early enough in life, is what legacy are you going to leave behind? What are people going to say about you at your funeral? And though I'm proud of what we've done at Bottle Breacher, I don't want that to be a big part of my legacy, you know, because, you know, it's not really eternal. And I want, you know, so what I'm saying is basically, like, I'm proud of what we've done, but I'm not going to spend the rest of my life trying to, you know, make millions of dollars and, you know, create the next, you know, I'm not going to spend most of my time working on, you know, entrepreneurship where I'm just trying to sell products, because to me, it's not that big of a deal. You know, and I feel grateful that, you know, God gave us that opportunity to transition well. But like right now, I'm writing a faith-based book. I think Mama Lee might do a little cameo in it. And the title of the book is called Weaponize Your Wounds: How to Take What Was Meant for Harm and Use It for Good. And you exemplified that as well as anybody that I know. And, you know, it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen is when you take stuff from your past, pain, wounds. And I've noticed that oftentimes that's the biggest and best way to actually encourage and uplift other people. But most of the time, instead of using our wounds to help other people, we actually medicate them, we build walls around them, and we try and hide them from other people. And so I'm just trying to take this idea and I'm trying to mainstream it so that people take, you know, that stuff that they're hiding medicating or they're fortifying and try and use it for, to help other people. And so those are the types of things I want to spend the rest of my life, working on, things that I think are really legacy worthy. And obviously, raising my kids. Like I took my daughter, my 12-year-old this weekend, I took her out to shoot pistols, and man, she was amazing. She shot a pistol better than most men I know. And
I've heard that women typically, because we do have a better, I don't know if our eyes are better.
Well, I think a lot of it,
but
I think a lot of it too,
a better shooter than a man.
Yeah, a lot of it too is ego, and if I noticed it, because I do a lot of instructing, and when you try and tell a guy, hey, don't put your thumbs like that, or hey, you should probably do something else, you'll get pushback, because as a guy we feel like, well, if he's having to tell me what to do, then I'm not, then he's assaulting my masculinity or whatever.
Right. Wow, that's so good. That's so
good.
Yeah.
And with a lot of women, I find that like they don't care. They just want to be good. And so maybe that's what it is. I really don't know.
Right. Yeah, because I'm very accurate with a pistol. I suck with the long rifle because I'm right hand, left eye dominant. Once I figure that out, I can compensate for that and try to shoot left-handed, but that's not what's natural, and I need to get out there and practice it more. But I can shoot a pretty mean target with a pistol.
We'll have to go shooting sometime.
I would love that. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Yeah. So very cool. So the book's coming out. I love that. I think that's, as you said, that's those legacies that we want to pass on, especially as believers. We want lives to be changed for an eternity, you know. And I tell Mark, I was a single mom most of my kids' life. My second husband committed suicide 25 years ago, and God promises to be a husband to the widow and a father to the fatherless. And I have seen him do that over and over and over. And the kids would lots of times come to me asking for wisdom. And most of the time, I didn't know what to tell them. I didn't have the answers, but I knew who did. And I would tell them, go ask your daddy. And they knew that meant to be on their knees or in the word, seeking what God would tell them. And so I tell people, it's no surprise what Mark did. Mark gave his life for his teammates. He followed in his daddy's footsteps. Christ gave his life for us to spend an eternity so that we could be free from the consequences of our sins. And, for me, that's my life mission. I want to be the hands and feet of Jesus. I want people to see and say, what's different? And I can say what makes a difference is Jesus. So I love that your heart is there and your mission is there as well to continue to do that. So God bless you. Can't wait for the book to come out. You'll have to make sure that when that does, that we can help promote that for you as well. So one of the things are when our guests come on, we want to continue to support them. I know you've mentioned Bottle Breacher, so people can find you at Bottle Breacher. We're very grateful. You have supported us by donating proceeds from different events. I know last year you did the 9/11 series, and a large donation came in from that, but you give a percentage of the proceeds back from the Mark Lee Bottle Breacher that people buy there. And so we're very grateful that God's blessed you there so that you can in turn bless that. And I know you have supported numerous charities in different events, and I think I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but I know Mark was your first Bottle Breacher that you did in your Fallen series, and I think I called and said, hey, you thought about doing any, or could you do one for Mark? And that started a series, and you have several on there of our Fallen that you honor that way, and that's an amazing thing for you to continue to do that way. But so we want to support you in whatever ways that we can. Are there other things that we can support you besides through Bottle Breacher? I think you're still taking orders even though you're shut down right now. They'll just ship later, correct? Yeah,
and we're still shipping some out. Ownership is coming in to fulfill the orders that we physically can. So the wait time is longer, but we're still shipping out some products. We also started a new .com called Sabino Gifts. It's kind of the sister side of Bottle Breacher. Basically we're doing the same personalization type gifts, only it's a much softer side. It's not the bullets and the grenades, and it's cutting boards and picture frames and
necklaces,
stuff that that my wife would love to buy. So, but as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for opportunities to utilize the assets that you have and that you've been blessed with. And, that's something that we want to keep doing. We want to keep going because, not only has it been great for our family, but as you mentioned, we've been able to bless a lot of other people with what we've done, to include the people that we employ here. And we've employed a lot of veterans as well over the years. So we want to keep doing that if that's what God wants us to do. If he doesn't, then, hey, we'll go do whatever he wants us to do. But until he shuts the door on that, we're going to keep trying to do the best job we can.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know that in the military, we love a good challenge. So do you have a challenge that you want to throw out to everybody in the midst of COVID-19?
Yeah, I think I would like to throw a challenge, and it's a mental one. I talked about James 1:2 and trials of many kinds. I want to ask you guys out there listening right now, what do you think good could come out of the trials that you're walking through now? How do you think God might be trying to prepare you through what you're walking through now? Are you going to look back on this time of adversity, and are you going to be encouraged by how you handled it? Are you going to be disappointed? Mm-hmm. And furthermore, will you make your mind up that the next, even if you haven't walked through this one with your head held high with grace and just trying to be a light to other people, will you make your mind up that the next time you get the opportunity to walk through something like this quarantine, that you'll do it with grace, that you'll do it with strength, and you'll do it with honor? That's my challenge to you.
Man, that's an awesome, awesome challenge. And I know, Eli, one of the things that you do faithfully, that you've learned to adapt and overcome, and that your strength comes from, is having a daily quiet time. And
big time. And it's cool because for the most of you guys have no idea, but I'm actually going through some treatment right now, courtesy of Mama Lee and America's Mighty Warriors, HBOT treatment. It's for TBI, and one of the greatest things about it is that I basically go into a chamber, like HBOT stands for, help me out,
hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
That's what it is. Thank you. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So basically you go into it looks like a submarine, and you breathe oxygen for like 50 minutes, and they take you to different altitudes. And it's supposed to restore your cells. I've seen some pictures of guys, brains before and after. And I didn't have a lot, honestly, going into it. I wasn't working with a lot, but, so I'm sure that it'll restore a lot going on up there for me. But the coolest thing about it is, for 50 minutes, I just, I'm reading my Bible, and it's awesome because, it's so counterintuitive. Most guys like me, most type A guys like me, we want to be our own boss. We want to chart our own course. We want to have all the answers. And honestly, if you're being honest with yourself, most of us don't have the answers to much at all. And most of us are our own worst enemy. And most of us spend a good amount of our life screwing up our life. And, God's honest truth, my life didn't start getting good until I really realized that. And I said, okay, I clearly don't have this, Lord. I'm going to turn this over to you. I want to, and I want to be your son. I want to walk in your favor. And, I want other people to see you when they look at me. And I fail at that all the time. But the cool thing is that he still sent his son, to trade his perfect life for mine. And he can still use a fool like me. And so for me to educate myself more and understand more about, the word of God, that's been a total blessing for me, just to, on a daily basis, try and get in that word. And, it's like anything else. It's like, if you eat a lot of junk food, you feel like crap, it's like good in, good out, bad out, bad in, bad out. And that's the thing I've noticed about not only reading my Bible, but listening to, podcasts and, preachers and teachers that teach the word, the entire gospel, and, and help me understand it, man, I just feel like, I'm being brought up to another level with my understanding, and not just of the scriptures, but the cool thing about the scriptures is they teach you about life, and it opens your eyes to things that are going on. And it's just, going back to James 1:2, it helps you become mature, complete, and lacking in nothing. And that's what I'm striving for. That's what I want to be. So if that's who I want to be, I better get in the book.
Yes, agreed. And that's been my challenge to everybody through this process is 5 minutes a day. Get in the word 5 minutes a day, whether you're a Christian or not. There's so much knowledge and stuff that you'll get in there. And it's contagious when you spend that time. And it was interesting as I was preparing and going through this stuff, some of the verses in scripture about adversity. Deuteronomy 31, 6-8 came in. It says, "Be strong and bold. Have no fear or dread of them, because it is the Lord your God who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed." And I think so many people are fearful right now, whether they're transitioning out of the military, something you knew, something you're comfortable with, whether, you're out of the military and maybe you've lost your job, you don't know how you're going to feed your family next week, maybe you've lost loved ones. And we need to not be fearful. God is there with you. You are not alone. And I'm so proud of you in your walk with the Lord. I've watched you grow, and I see it just in some of your posts. And so keep up the great job. I know we've got Ryan standing by with some questions for you, Eli.
What's up, Ryan?
What's up, brother? Man, super thankful for you joining us and keeping us company and supporting this On Me 20 mission, brother. So thank you. I got to tell you, too, as a proud dad of 2 young ladies as well, when my 9-year-old came back from girls' summer camp with a bullseye from a .22 that she shot at camp, I'm talking about a proud dad right here, too, man.
That's right.
Another quick real story based on one of the questions. So the question is going to be, where'd you get the concept for the original bottle breacher? But I want to share with you a quick story that I think my best date night with my wife was the date that we call bullets, beers, and buffalo wings. And we went to the range, shot our guns, and then went and got some beers and buffalo wings. So I have a feeling there's a tie between bullets and beers in this whole breacher concept. So I just wanted to lead in with that. I thought
no, that sounds like a date night I would like right there. But yeah, no, thank you for the question, whoever asked it. So my little brother was he was a Super Cobra pilot in the Marine Corps. And in 2009, he went on a deployment to the Philippines. And on that deployment, I think he was maybe in Manila or a city there. And he was in a street fair, and a vendor had a 50 caliber bullet that they had cut into a bottle opener. And my little brother brought that back for me. And it was one of the coolest gifts I'd ever received. And when all my buddies came over to have a beer with me and hang out, I would open their beers with that, and they would freak out. They were like, "Man, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Where can I get one?" And so a couple years after that point, I had just this epiphany, and I was like, that thing is really cool, but I think I could make it way better. And so I was at SEAL Team 3, Task Unit 2, Delta Platoon, and our logo was the Punisher Skull. Like if you ever, look up Chris Kyle or his movies or anything, you'll see all the guys are rolling around with the Punisher Skull on their gear. We actually would paint that on our body armor and our helmets, to the point where people in Iraq knew that there was a different group moving through the area, and I think they were definitely intimidated by just that symbol, and they knew what it meant. But anyway, so I took that logo, the Punisher Skull that we were all proud of, and I painted the raw brass generic 50 cal bottle opener black, and I put a white Punisher Skull on it. I took it to work with me the next day, and all my buddies freaked out, and they said, "Hey man, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want you to make 5 for every guy in my family for Christmas." And that's when the light bulb came on that this could be something that was really cool. Now I just have to figure out how to market it to, everybody else.
Nice.
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
Ryan, I'll jump in real quick.
Go ahead. Yeah.
We do have on our website the Mark Lee bottle breacher, and it comes in a really cool box. It has a picture of him when he's on patrol carrying that 50 cal like it's a pistol.
Yeah.
But and I'd be with ours, when you get those there, then I autograph the box for you. But I know you can get those from Eli as well on there. But they're awesome. They're absolutely amazing. And then he makes some that are the 30 mil.
Yeah. We have some that are 30 millimeter. We call it the Moab. I have some in my office, but
I'll grab one.
But yeah, it's like a 13-inch round that opens your beer, and you can also personalize it. We have some grenades called the Freedom Frag that open your beer, that, you know, or your bottle. Yep, there's the 30 millimeter right there. And so that's a once fired 30 millimeter case, and then we have to make the projectiles ourselves because you can't get the real ones. From what I hear, they're hazardous to handle. So
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So a follow-up question to that, brother, is did you have a backup plan before the bottle breacher concept, or do you just put all your eggs in one basket?
No, I definitely recommend, especially to transitioning veterans, that they don't put all their eggs in one basket. Especially, it's one thing if you're a single guy, right? Or a single female getting out of the military, the stakes are a lot lower. But if you have dependents, and you have bills to pay and mouths to feed, I highly recommend that you diversify, your opportunities as you're getting out. I had multiple things that I was working on. I still have multiple things that I'm working on right now. And I think that can, really pigeonholing yourself and putting all of your eggs in one basket, regardless of the time in your life, is never a great idea. And I know that a lot of people would argue with that, and they would talk about focus. Well, if you're working on 5 things, you're not focused on the one thing. And I think there's some validity to that argument as well. But as I was getting out of the military, I think there's surveys and studies that say that like 80% of us that get out of the military, a year after we get out of the military, we're not doing the same job that we were when we got out of the military. There's a very high turnover rate, because we're just trying to figure it out. And a lot of times the first thing that we jump into is more of a survival thing than, hey, this is where I want to spend the next 20 years. And so I would definitely recommend a plan A, and have, a couple different things going, maybe an internship over here. There's a lot of cool, was the person that asked the question, were they in the military, or do we know?
I do not.
Okay. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, but diversification, when you can, I highly recommend it.
It came internally, so most of our guests on here are military.
Okay.
Let's see here. Yep. Transitioning this year, he said.
Okay. Yeah. So in that case, yeah, get a couple things going, because the chances are too, I've met a lot of guys that they'll get into something and they'll realize it wasn't all they thought it was going to be anyway. And so they're looking to jump ship within a year or 2 years. So the more opportunities you have to take a hard look at, hey, this might be a possibility, or let me, put my foot in over here and see, if I like the temperature of the water. I think it's just going to give them the best chance at being happy as they get out.
Awesome. When will, I guess you hit a little bit about what your book's going to be about, release date, and any advice that you can give for entrepreneurs starting off and struggling.
Yeah. All right. So release date, I don't know. I've been trying to write this book now for about 2.5 years. I've spent a lot of time. I've spent a lot of money. But because I feel like God called me and said, hey, I want you to do this, I'm not going to, like everything else, I won't give up until, and I don't care if I have to self-publish it myself, that what ends up happening with it, because I don't believe I'm in control of a lot of things. I'm going to do the best job I can. And if God wants to make a big deal of this, then that's exactly what he'll do. And I've seen him work in just amazing ways in the past. And I won't be surprised if he, does something completely unconventional, like makes it, an awesome book, even if I have to self-publish just to show how powerful he is. That being said, I found a co-author, Jeff Wilson. He's the author of the Tier 1 series. He's a former Navy veteran himself. And so because I'm not a writer by trade, I kind of give him a lump of clay and then he like cleans it up and makes it all pretty and flow and, you know, all that stuff. But I'm definitely very involved in the writing of the book. I'm not just getting like a ghostwriter to, you know, matter of fact, we're working on chapter 3 right now. And, you know, I've already sent the concept to all the faith-based publishers out there. And they rejected it the first time, kind of like when I tried to go through SEAL training, but thankfully that really doesn't stop me. So I'm just going to keep working at it. And I really hope that, you know, we can get this thing released, you know, maybe late into the year or into 2021. And then what was the entrepreneurial question? I'm sorry.
Just, you know, anybody that's kind of struggling, starting out and
Right.
not doing very well.
Right. I think for young entrepreneurs out there, the advice I would give them is expectation management is huge when you're starting in this new space. I would say, you know, if you talk to 100 successful entrepreneurs, I almost guarantee you, if you ask them to fill out a list of how many, you know, businesses they were unsuccessful with before the one that they hit it out of the park, it would be a very long list. You know, for me, it was number 2, but that's pretty rare. And so I like to tell entrepreneurs, hey man, for you want to swing for the fences, but you might not connect until, you know, your 3rd or 4th or 5th swing. And, you know, Mark Cuban, who's an investor in Bottle Breacher, he wrote a book before he was even, you know, before I ever even met him. And he said in his book, you only have to be right one time. And that's, if I was going to take something away as a young entrepreneur trying to figure it out, that I would put that in my tool bag and I would carry it with me, knowing that, hey, I might not hit one out of the park on this opportunity, but you have to look at it. You have to look at it differently. You have to look at it like, this isn't a failure. Now I know an accountant. I know a graphic designer. I know somebody who's good with sales. And, you know, we had some hiccups here and there, but now I'm going to take all those things that I do know about business and I'm going to roll them into the next attempt. Right. And so you just have to have a real patient, but optimistic attitude and mentality when you're getting into this space.
That's awesome, brother. How about, let's see, this is any impacts of your operational time on you physically, emotionally, psychologically?
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I'm, you know, Debbie's been so kind to, you know, put me through some of this treatment. You know, I think one of the biggest things I struggled with for a long time was I had some pretty legit anger issues. And I think some of it was from, you know, some stuff that I did and saw overseas, but I think a lot of it was from, you know, improperly handling some trauma that I'd been through earlier in life. And that's what I was talking about. A lot of times we build such walls around the wounds that we've suffered instead of actually dealing with them and working through them. And those things, they're still there. And oftentimes they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the way that I knew that I was in trouble, I probably had, I don't know, 15 or 20, you know, friends of mine that have been killed in the service. And one of my closest friends was one of the last to get killed. His name was Chuck Keating. He came from Phoenix, where Mama Lee's at. He was one of my new guys. And I loved him like a little brother. And we spent a lot of time together. And then I left, and he was killed 2 years after I left. And because I had lost so many guys that I knew and friends that I knew before Chuck, I never had a problem grieving their death. Like I was able to shed it, you know, I was able to shed a tear. I was able to mourn the loss. I noticed with Chuck that the walls that I was building around my heart were getting so big, I wasn't even able to shed a tear for him. Like I felt the emotion coming up my chest into my throat, and then it would just get rejected every time. And that kind of scared me a little bit, because not only did it bother me that I wasn't able to mourn a man like Chuck and a warrior like Chuck, but it made me realize that this was probably not an isolated incident, and that this was probably bleeding over into other aspects of my life, and it absolutely was. I was dealing with a lot of, just stress in my life through anger, and even some medication. And, so it was one of those things where I wanted to, I told Mama Lee when we started talking about getting some help, I said, hey, Debbie, I don't want to sit on the sideline, the rest of my life. I want my life to count. And if any of this treatment that you guys are doing could make me even a fraction better, then I know that that's going to pay dividends, and that's going to have ROI on stuff that's way bigger than just my life, but I have struggled with issues. I've struggled with memory recall. I have a lot of, physical injuries that, I deal with every single day. But I'm still, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that, that I have I have it a lot better than a lot of people. And I have people in my life that love me and care about me enough to, to try and help me, help me get through it. And that's why I want to be open, and I want to be vulnerable, and I want to talk to other veterans about some of the stuff that I've gone through and some of the things that I've suffered with, because I want them to know, hey man, you're not alone. You're going into this is a very foreign world. And, it's like, there's a scripture that I want to bring up real quick. It's 1 Peter 5:8. It says, be alert and of sober mind, for your enemy, the devil, prowls the earth like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Okay. And I want to point that verse out is because most people don't even walk around, even most Christians I know don't walk around as if we have an enemy, right? And they surely don't. If they even think in terms of good and evil, God and Satan, they don't think in terms of, well, this guy's trying to steal, kill, and destroy from me, which is another scripture, John 10:10. I bring that up because when you watch the nature channels, what do you see lions doing? Do they go after the biggest, baddest bull in the herd, or do they look for the one that's isolated? Mm-hmm. They always look for the one that's isolated. And us as veterans, we make ourselves the biggest target in the world for the enemy. That's all throughout Scripture, by isolating ourselves and trying to deal with our issues on our own. And so, that's why I was willing to go talk to Mama Lee and say, hey, I'm struggling with these things. Do you have anything that you think can help me with it? And that's not even something I like to say. I don't like to tell anybody that I'm struggling. I'm supposed to be this badass Navy SEAL, that was forged through adversity, yet I can't handle my own stuff. Are you kidding me? And, that's one of the problems with us, is that we've been trained to take the weight from our brother. We've been trained, to watch his back and to possibly take a bullet for him, not to give him any more of our crap. And the problem is that if we don't reverse the way we think about, how we go through this transition process and what real brotherhood means, if you don't give your brother the opportunity to bless you and lift you up when you're struggling, then it's really not a brotherhood. It really isn't. And, so it's like, those are some of the things that I've struggled with. And there's the list is a lot longer, and, but I know that we're, limited for time on this. So yeah, absolutely have struggled with stuff. I'm still struggling with stuff, but, again, I'm trying to work through it, and I'm being proactive, and I'm not isolating myself. That's some of the best stuff you can do right there.
Yeah,
and I think that's so important, Eli, that, and we've had some of these conversations, that this is an example of leadership. When you step up, if you found out there were others, we've lost lots in the community to suicide. Just the month of May, I had 4 SEALs that completed our program and reached out to me in different ways. The first one was a phone call and just thanking me. He said, I can't thank you enough, for what you've done through these therapies. I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for you and your foundation. And I just, I have a hard time, when those things, compliments and thank you stuff and come through. And I just said, well, you were willing to give your life for me. That's the least I can do. And he says, no, stop. you saved me. And I thought of Mark, his final actions, standing up in the line of fire to save his teammates. And I got choked up kind of like I am now. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's still saving his teammates.
Yeah.
And having walked through suicide myself, I know, that's not easy when you lose a loved one to suicide. I get it. I understand that sometimes you guys feel like, okay, this is what I'm going to have to live through the rest of my life. There's no hope here. The drugs haven't worked. The alcohol hasn't worked. The sex hasn't worked. Whatever you're using to self-medicate.
Right.
And rather than live like this the rest of my life, I'm going to end it. And that doesn't have to be an option. There are healing therapies that can help you guys and gals. And so please do not hesitate to reach out. Get in touch with us at americasmightywarriors.org. And, the cost for this is not cheap. The cost is $10,000 to $13,000 per veteran. And so if you're in a place that you can continue to help us, please, I don't ever want to have to tell a veteran who finally, like you, Eli, said, okay, Mama Lee, I need help. Yes, yep. Help me. That I'm sorry, we can't help you. We don't have any funding. So this is crucial, an example of that. And God bless you, Eli, that what you have poured out today, what you have shared, what you have opened up and been vulnerable about, I know is going to help so many people. And I love you to pieces. So, sorry, Ryan, I had to jump in there for a minute.
I love it. I was going to share with Eli, I spoke to an addiction recovery group. I think it'd probably be about maybe 2 years ago. And I made a t-shirt going in, and on the front it said struggle is real. And on the back it said you're not alone. So I love that you hit that, brother. It's my message of transition for the athlete space. And that's where I've built this community in the military, is I get it. I've been on these points of failure and struggle and not being able to figure it out. I've been there and I've lived it. So I love that, man. And I also wanted to share too, since you're such a great man of scripture, one of my life verses now for this journey that I'm on is Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. It says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. And I'm such an advocate for that verse, brother, because I couldn't have done this without the brothers and sisters and the new friends like Debbie that you surround yourself with. They get it. Yeah. And so just a word of encouragement to all the people that are on today, that isolation is real. It takes you to dark places, and it's where you get preyed upon. So pull yourself up, pull yourself out, find good brothers like Eli and great sisters like Debbie, Mama Lee. Find those people and just connect and empower yourself through them, because I wouldn't be here with you guys today without those folks. So I just wanted to share that. I'm going to jump off, Mama Lee, your time here with Eli.
Awesome.
Love you, man. Amazing story. Thank you for your vulnerability and authenticity, man. It makes a difference in groups like this, and it's going to make a difference in future people that watch this. So thank you, Eli.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. And as I think back to our theme for On Me 20, this was something that probably was Mark's final words to his teammates as he went up the steps that final time and said, on me. And the guys knew that meant he was taking the lead to follow him, that there was a battle ahead or something that was needed a team. And we want to be that for you today. We hope we were. I don't know how you couldn't have been encouraged and challenged by what Eli shared today. But as we've stood there together and said, on me, follow us, here's some things to do in adversity. We pray that you will take that away today and you will say, on me. And there is no one greater that did that than when Jesus hung on the cross, nailed there with his side pierced and giving up his final breath for us. And he said, give me all of your sins. I will take all of your sins on me. And so we thank you. May God bless you today. This was number 10. Please spread the word and join us again for number 11. Eli, God bless you. Thank you so much for sharing and for being here. I always feel like this doggone quarantine, because if we were together doing this, then I could give you a big hug. But I love you and appreciate you so much and look forward to what God can continue to do in all of our lives. So have a great day. God bless you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
When fear flashes its teeth like a lion, when evil roars and walls begin to shake. There's a strength that's not my own, there's a fire in my bones. He is with me and his hand is ever on me. Follow on me, we're marching out into the night. Follow on me, we're standing up against a giant. Follow on me, we might be walking in the fire, but if it's where we're meant to be, then on me.